Welcome to the Fabric of America, the podcast that celebrates small businesses and the remarkable stories that weave our communities together. We're your hosts, Melissa Otto
and Matt Banover.
Matt is a fashion designer passionate about storytelling through style.
And Melissa is a seamstress on a mission to make sewing cool again and inspire the next generation. We sit down with small business owners, artisans, and dreamers to uncover the stories behind their brand, what inspires them, challenges them, and keeps them creating.
Because we believe that behind every idea, every design, every stitch, there's a story worth sharing. So grab a drink from your favorite local shop and join us as we weave together conversations about passion, perseverance, and the power of small business. So, Matt, I'm going to tell you something funny. Every time. Wow, you're a dick. Girls can be funny too, okay? All the time. So you had introduced me to gentleman Jake from Southland Heritage. But in my mind, because I am an immature human,
he's going to be so sad when he hears this.
All I hear is Jake from State Farm every time, like Jake from State Farm. But in my head, I do go Jake from Southland. Jake from Southland. He's Jake from Southland. What are you wearing, Jake from Southland?
Yeah.
Bards is what he's wearing.
So when I sent him, I made him a shirt recently and I sent it to him. And he, I did it. I went to the UPS store and I told them the address verbally, and he showed me the label and it said Jack South.
Okay.
So we're just failing. We're failing. So Jake from Southland Heritage, he is somebody that I have so much goddamn respect for, because he is just taking up the mantle of promoting American business owners, made in America products, and doing it in a way that is so selfless, that is so
genuine.
It's so for a greater purpose. It's not to make his site and his profile bigger. He does it in service of the business owners. How can he be the most authentic version of himself so that the businesses that deserve the spotlight get the attention they need? He's got this online directory with over 350 businesses. You can buy bedding, you can buy clothing, you can buy artwork, you can buy candles, you can buy whatever.
Home goods, furniture, everything.
All on his directory, and it's all a Made in America directory. And he and I have had the pleasure of talking, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times. We've had like phone conversations or Zooms or something like that. But I'm assuming this is the first time you've really talked to him?
This was my first time talking to him. We kind of emailed a little back and forth in our setup of recording and filming and everything. But first time, like, really just getting to know his ethos and like what brought him into this like circle. The thing that sticks out for me, and I feel so grateful that this has become a common thread through doing this podcast. And I hope that for the listener, it doesn't sound like a broken record. I hope it sounds like a reinforcement of the message that everybody we have talked to is so like emotionally invested in the cause, in what they do. And like immediately out of the gate, that was what I got from Jake, is like leading with intention, leading with emotional depth. He is coming from such a true place of service, like you mentioned. And I just don't think you can say that enough. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it can be understated or overstated. Oh, I fucked that up. I don't think it can be overstated. You know what? Just get to the end of the episode and you'll hear Matt fuck up too. So it's fine. All right. We'll call it even.
That's payback. You know, so
that was the universe getting me back.
And you know what? We're clearly not great with the words.
No, just get to the episode.
Jake just crushes it. Listen to this man just pour out his heart. We really appreciate you. This is our episode from Jake with Jake. Southland Heritage.
Jake from Southland.
Looks like you got an awesome shirt you got on.
I was gonna say I don't have my green on, but I have something pretty awesome on. So.
Where'd you get that shirt? It looks incredible.
So this is a custom-made shirt from my buddy at Bard's Clothing. His name is Matt. He's incredible.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. I get it now.
Yeah, this is a good tee up.
Nice.
Also, we got
Ooh,
these.
Custom collaboration,
very handsome.
very one of one. So,
I love that.
Then don't forget these. Look
Yeah.
at those. Look at those
Look at
buttons.
those snaps.
Baller.
Yeah.
All our buttons.
Sick.
They're gorgeous. They're absolutely mesmerizing in person too.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Usually when I work with somebody and they are not like, I'm not giving them, if I send them the product, I'll usually drop ship. So I'll have the factory send it directly to the client. But I was like, no. I want to see this thing. And so he came in. I was like, this shirt is gorgeous. Yeah. So
the fabric itself is really lovely too. I love like the brushed cotton feel. It's like something I'm gonna wear all the time.
Yeah, and it definitely fits with where you are, and you are in Portland, Oregon, right?
I'm in Bend, Oregon, so it's similar, but maybe a little bit more sun.
Okay.
That's a big deal, actually. That counts.
It does. Yeah. I'm from Arizona originally. I was born in Lake Havasu City. It's so very small town, and it's attached to the Mojave Desert, which is one of the hottest places in the world. So all that to say, being out in the Pacific Northwest now has been a change for me. And we've been here for 2 years, and it's May now, and it snowed in April. It just snowed a few days ago, like a freak show, little temperature mood swing. So just getting used to all that. I think what's the temperature right now? It's 44. So so our high is 55 today. So
damn,
I'm missing the sun a little bit, and the heat really, but
just heat in general.
yeah.
So we wanted to talk to you because, and this is something that I've had one-on-one discussions with you about, which is us as the business owners. We're in it. We're like in the trenches and trying to make it happen. There's only so much. A common issue that comes up is like marketing. Melissa and I had this debate on one of our episodes recently about like, it just sucks to like feel the need to constantly promote your business. Sometimes you don't want to, sometimes you had a tough day. Like it's a lot. And in walks you, this angel from above, who is just taking this, I guess, responsibility is the word.
Yeah. The mantle. He's grabbing the mantle.
You're Batman putting on the cowl and being like, I need to help people. So what you've done is create this online directory of all companies made in America. And you're basically this third-party champion for us, the brands who are doing it. And I try to tell you as often as I can how thankful I am. And I hope other brands are doing the same, just because it feels so validating that we're not just screaming into the void. At least, even if at the end of the day, I'm like, well, Jake heard, and Jake, akin to the message. Yep. So I wanted to kind of start with that. Like, where did this desire for getting into the Made in America, or I guess, what was the appeal to Made in America products? And then how did that transition into auction?
Well, first off, thank you. And it's been surreal just networking with people. And initially what started as just like, it's kind of like that fanboy energy, in a sense, like, I like these guys and I like these companies and what they do and their intention and what I believe they're going to do and continue to do. That was kind of a really important aspect. And it's been surreal to connect with all you guys and networking and have conversations like this. So I really appreciate it. And your guys' support. And like you mentioned, you've been driving it into me. That's not necessarily uncommon with my journey now. So that's another aspect of it. That's been so surreal, and it's been incredible. So this community is really just at a community. So initially, it kind of sparked in around 2016, and it was really heavily influenced by the elections. And I have been very adamant about not being political. And so this might seem like initially in a political stance, but it was really, I was just upset with the two options from the 2016 election. And I had been working, I've been independent since I was about 13, like unfortunately some family issues there. And so I've been doing everything on my own, especially since 17, after I graduated high school. And so a good job is very important to me. It's been very personal to me. It's been a very personal journey. I've been working paycheck to paycheck every day of my adult life. And so dreams and goals and, all of the wonderful things of a child and, the young man and young human in America, I felt pretty isolated and it felt pretty like out of control. Like those things were out of my control, and maybe those things weren't going to be available for me. So 2016 election comes around. I'm really feeling like I don't have a choice in things. Really feeling like I don't have a control in my vote. And so I just decided, I'm like, I prefer to put my money, vote with my dollar towards American manufacturing, towards, communities and Americans that are actually still working. And I would imagine that these companies are taking a little bit better care of their employees. They're a little bit more progressive in their benefits and pay. And, I've learned that's not always the case. And I learned, that's in most cases, these companies are very progressive. But initially that's where I came from. I just wanted to support people like me, and I wanted to support jobs. And I think that's been kind of overshadowed a lot when I talk to business owners, because it's been excellent to connect with you guys. But ultimately, I really want to represent people like me, who, and I get flack all the time on the internet about middle class and, they can't afford these outfits and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, I've been independent since I was a child, and with no support. I'm doing this on 50. I told a person recently, this is on, under $50,000 a year salaries, and I've made articles for, vetting companies, getting part of their email blasts and, watching the product and understanding that there's going to be a sale coming up. And okay, well, they're listing it for 30% off. Now is your time to get that product that you've been watching for. So there's all sorts of things that you can get a little bit of a discount or help on the things that you really want, and that thing's going to last for years and generations. And that was another aspect of it. My father has, passed away. He passed away when I was 11. And right around the same time, 2016, I had refound this tote of jeans from him. And he was in the trades. He was in HVAC, and he owned a air conditioning business and all that. And sheet metal business and all that in Arizona, did really well for himself out there. And I had all of his work clothes, and it's, 30 plus years old, and, Levi's jackets and shirts and stuff like that. And I'm like, how are these things still around? How are these things still substantial enough that I can, and relevant enough as well, in trend and style, so all that very long-winded message of saying, there's some very personal family inspiration and motivation, rather, and then some very personal, economical work environments that was very personal for me as well, that I just ultimately wanted to put my dollar towards, my belief in that regard. And I'm pretty relentless in that belief still to this day. And, ultimately on the journey, you asked why did I start it in action? I just found that there wasn't many directories. And if there were, they were bombarded with ads, or they were bombarded with the American flag.
Yeah.
And I think I love this country, and I'm proud to be an American. But I think it's a very sensitive time for the American flag. And I think people processing it right now are sensitive. And that's the best way I can articulate that. And avoiding it, in a sense, was my intention to kind of, allow a little bit more trust into this site and, show people that I'm not necessarily on a side. I'm just here to get things done. I'm just here to help the consumer and ultimately the brands, this American infrastructure just get to work, and, I'm not really making a lot of money off of it. So
Yep.
it's very much like you said, it's my service, it's my duty. And I'm proud to do it. I'm really stoked to connect with all you guys, and I'm seeing really the effects of this community grow every day. So I'm excited about it.
I think it's so important. I know, hold for applause.
Yeah.
I think it's so important to note that, I hope that you hear this every day, but in case you don't, I think it's important for you to know from us who are watching you. And yes, I'm a business owner, but I'm looking at this through the lens of the everyday person who's a consumer. The information on Made in America sometimes can get so buried.
Mm.
And I think that's the number one struggle. And sometimes that's on purpose. And I don't mean like because it is made in America, I mean like because it's not made in America. And so country of origin can get to be a piece of the puzzle that gets buried down when you're looking at products and things from different companies. And I think that to the exact point too, that you're uplifting the little guy. I know as a person who has a website for my business, Matt's got a consumer, like a direct consumer connection in that way too. It
Mm.
can be hard to fight like the SEO monsters and the people with giant marketing dollars and big fat budgets who get the top of the Google search. So I can literally, I think I actually did this not too long ago. And Matt, I had asked you for some opinions too. I was trying to find plain cotton pajamas made in America. Can I tell you how real the struggle was just trying to search for a company with made in America cotton, like just pajamas, pants and a top? It was absurd. So the fact that you can take up this mantle and try to just soften that search blow, because let's also face it, as a society in general, we are impatient. We want the satisfaction or like the quick resolve. And if we don't have tools that help us get there, it's very easy to just be like, fuck it, Amazon.
Yeah.
Who cares where it came from? It's cheap, it's whatever. And until we start shifting the patient's mindset, the caring about the people mindset, that's when we'll begin to see this shift. So I think you're just like, so all that to say thank you for what it is you do, because it can be a thankless situation. People don't maybe know all of your background with this or your passion that you feel to do this project, which really is just a service to the rest of us.
Right.
So just thank you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, you meant, yeah, thank you. I mean, you mentioned something and it's escaping me right now, but yeah, it's great. I think I am on my way. You mentioned like finding the softening the blow. That's what it was. And that, I mean, I still have 50 plus companies on my queue to add. So that would put me at well over 400 companies, and just spending the time on the company's websites, the individual sites alone, I feel like I have developed such a random niched skill. Like I have looked at 400 companies' sites. I'm fairly familiar. I've always been kind of a product guy, just off topic, but I'm fairly familiar with all these guys' catalogs, what they offer. And I apologize, getting back to you, Melissa. That was usually I'm on top of my like recommendations and stuff. So I apologize. I'll get you one as soon as possible. I'll get you one by the
Well,
middle.
thank you.
I'm sorry about that. I apologize because I really do take that personally, and that's one thing I advocate for folks to do is reach out to me. I always say, ask me if you have any questions, and I do get it on Reddit, and I get some folks on Instagram now. It's kind of dripping in, but it's like if people have any questions, I freaking love being able to be like, this is the place. This is the place. Go look at this. Go look at that. Go talk to this person. Go to that. So I'll get you something. I apologize because I take.
Thank you. Don't apologize. You're great.
But 400 companies, websites, you kind of see who's got it figured out, who doesn't. You kind of see
No.
the products of everything. So that's something I take personally like a pride in understanding the catalog. And then I don't know, just seeing different approach marketing wise and lack thereof for some of the companies. That's something that I would like to utilize, I think, my knowledge in the future. I think that's something where I can, work with companies a little bit more and kind of help them and guide them and be like, hey, look, maybe we're lacking a little bit here. One of my goals for 2025 is to start this campaign called the Brand Spotlight. And what that would entail is taking someone like, Melissa or yourself or Matt, and, basically being like, Matt's a little bit better at it. And as you guys say on your YouTube, it's like Matt's a fashion designer whose, focus is storytelling, So he's probably a little bit more specific of an example here. But most of you American-made business owners and craft makers or craftsmen, you guys are so focused on making a great products that your eyes are not focused on this world out here, and
Oh, perhaps we don't like to do social media but we do it anyway, but we're not good at it. And we just,
this debate is gonna kill us.
it's gonna rage
I mean,
forever.
that's kind of the theme of our kind of adulthood. If you said, even FaceTime and all this video stuff, it's made, I think, us as we've grown into adults, made us feel a little uncomfortable. But us battling that uncomfortability, I think, is a challenge in and of itself. And I think we've seen many people overcome that, and they influence us because their reach and their what they can accomplish in talking to a lot of people. I think that's very valuable. It's a free marketing tool, and so I think when we utilize it in a very organic and intentional way, that's really awesome, So, but like you said initially, it does feel sometimes like it's a very uphill battle with the social media and like having to keep up.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially when you have, you know, we are living the paycheck to paycheck struggle, right? Like when you're doing that, it can be daunting, I think, to carve out time for the needful, right? So again, all that to like just really commend you for making the commitment and being consistent with the commitment, because that's not an easy thing to do when you're always kind of having to hustle, really. And you're doing all of us a huge favor, and it's a big undertaking. So that's certainly not lost on me. I think I'm going to assume that you have a pretty good like radar for bullshit, right? Like you can probably like, pin out some companies who are full of fluff and aren't maybe telling the whole truth or painting the whole picture.
Right.
Is that something that like where is the criteria for you? Like what does it take to make it to be part of your list? Are there certain checkpoints or?
So yeah, that has kind of shifted throughout the time, because the site's only about 2 years old. But that's a great question. I really appreciate you asking that. Thank you. Initially, because I started swapping my wardrobe back when I mentioned like 2016. I was like, okay, I don't really feel like my vote matters, so I'm like, you're just gonna put my dollar into things. I like swapped my entire wardrobe, every little piece. I was like, oh, I really like this like thin hoodie. Swap it. I got like found this other garment that matched the function. Excuse me. And so I would kind of just do that. Okay, there's these jeans here, et cetera, et cetera. So initially, I was just like made a list on my iPhone app. Blah blah blah. These days, and the reason I mentioned that, sorry, before I go forward, the reason I mentioned that, I'm ashamed to admit how much money I've spent in this process. It's just like anyone else's hobby, but I don't know. There's a whole conversation or maybe internal struggle there, and we'll talk about later. But I spent a lot of money with companies, and I'm like Topo. I'll say them: Topo Designs, Birdwell out of California, Go Ruck, company. I spent hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars with these companies. Iron and Resin, all for them to shift their intention, all for them as they scaled up to leave me out, and that has left such a sour taste in my mouth. I'm still so bitter about that. You take a community, you take your consumers, and I was a part of a company here in Bend, and I probably can't say this one's name, but I initially started to join them, and I started very low in their company. and very quickly realized that as they brought on their new executives, they had a summit meeting or, with everyone, and they were saying they're going to, I asked them, what's your domestic intentions? We're going to join the global market supply. And basically it was a way for them to fund their new executives. And I was so let down. And it's another aspect of me being so freaking let down. And I want to say something else, but it hurts. And I spent a lot of money and I trusted these guys. And so ultimately, the biggest criteria now is my brain, like you said, is my filter for bullshit. I have to truly look at these companies and say, where are they going to go in 5 years? Do I trust
Yeah.
Matt and Melissa to make the right decisions for this infrastructure? And adversely, people are like, well, where's everything? People could ask me why aren't things, and I haven't talked about this publicly. I'm actually a little bit hesitant. They're like, if things have an imported fabric, like if it's not berry compliant, ultimately, it's not union made berry compliant. Well, let's look at this. I got about 400 companies on my site. There's about 2 to 3, I think it's dwindling down to 1 to 2% of companies actually manufacturing in America, right? So let's just minimize it. And ultimately, I will get a filter system going, but let's just minimize it to a union and berry compliant. That's like 5% of my site, and
Yeah.
that would be completely unfair, in my opinion, for these business owners, for all of the American jobs associated with it. It's not your fault that this infrastructure has been picked apart at. And I trust you guys to do the right thing when the time comes. And I trust you guys that you're making every decision possible to compound our dollar and to regrow and revitalize that infrastructure every single day, every single purchase, every single transaction, every single micro transaction that you guys exist in. That's what you are doing. That's what your job is. You are stewards of that position. And my job is just to tell people about you guys and just to simply stimulate this industry.
Yeah. I really love that aspect of it, because I have found in this Made in America sphere, education is everything, because people come in with this preconceived notion. If it's made in America, every single component is made in America. It's union. It's this. Like, let's pump the brakes. There's so many things we need to start discussing. For one, my garments are made in a factory in Rochester. That factory is not union, because they don't feel the need to, because all their employees are paid livable wages, are treated fair, are treated with respect. It's just like most very good companies where you don't feel the need to. A union is to protect the employees. If you feel
Preserve that situation that you're describing right now.
Yeah,
To
if
preserve
you
that.
feel like you don't need protection because you are treated well, that is, why would that be a detriment? Like, because the factory isn't unionized.
Correct.
That should be a badge of honor, like that they're getting paid. I know some of the tailors at my factory are actually paid more than the administration, because their skill level trumps the administrative work.
Trumps the paperwork. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know that they are paid much better than the C-suite, if you will. I'm like, that's huge. Like, that's incredible. Like, and if somebody wants to get on my case because it's not union, like, fuck off. The second part is made in America. And this is something I try to bring up as much as I can. And it's something that frustrates me a lot, because it feels like the myth of Sisyphus, like, I'm never gonna get this boulder up this hill, is where the stuff comes from. And
The raw materials.
Yeah.
raw materials. With Bard's clothing, every single product is
Put together. Yeah.
constructed in America.
100p, yeah.
And a lot of the materials are imported.
Right.
And in my industry, that's not a bad thing. Italians make the best wool. That's just a fact that they just do. They have the best mills. They have better water than we have. And the analogy that I use often is pizza. And I think everybody knows that you get the best pizza in the world in Connecticut. That's just a fact. That's not opinion. That's the fact.
It's on the signs, okay?
Yeah.
That's
there's nothing,
period.
there's nothing stopping somebody from Arizona to make pizza. It's not going to taste as good because of brick ovens, the water that were used. There are
Cold oven.
restaurants in Florida that have great pizza, and they say the reason they have great pizza is because they import the
The
water
water
from Long
for the
Island.
dough.
That's like the water up here is just better. Same thing with Italy. The minerals that are in the water from all the volcanoes, they just have better water.
Right.
So there's nothing stopping from American woolen. American woolen makes a great, this is American woolen right here. You know, that's American woolen.
Right.
All of this is all imported.
Right.
And I am so proud of that.
Right.
To have that. It's not a bad thing. And people get on my case about like, oh, well, like it's assembled. I'm like, no. Like, we're not even going to have this discussion. So there is, and we had this conversation with Jacob from American Woolen, which is like, globalization is a good and bad. It's a thin line. There's easy ways that corporations have abused it, but then there are also the realities of benefits. I can now make one of the best suits on the planet because I'm able to get the best materials,
Right.
give it to some of the most skilled laborers. If I had just relied on American textiles, I probably wouldn't still be in business, not for quality of materials, but for lack of options.
Availability.
Imagine
Yeah.
if you walked in and none of this existed. I was just like, here's these 6
Here's your
folders,
choices.
and this is all you get. Like, it just, that's the reality. Would I love to see a world in which all this, if I could have a good, better, best, and variety of options of just made in America textiles, I would. The reality is I don't. The other option is shirts. There are no cotton shirt mills in America. I have to. Like, I have to import those materials.
Right.
Okay. So now am I a bad guy? Because I import those. So, there's a huge aspect on that
Right.
of what made in America actually looks like. And it does suck that I am up against the wall basically because so many big players have put a bad taste in people's mouths for what made in America is.
Yeah.
Levi jeans, they fucked so many of us because they got, like screwed to that, or thankfully they got screwed in that huge lawsuit because they were claiming made in America, even though it was just that little leather patch, or were finishing their garments in America. There's a company out of Tennessee that is like my factory. They claimed made in America. They lost a $13 million lawsuit because they were saying that it was made in America. It was all made in Mexico. And their defense was, we never said the United States. We said America, which Mexico is technically a part of America. North
America.
Yeah, they were like that. That was their defense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were they found guilty or?
Yeah, they lost.
Yeah, they lost. Yeah, they lost.
Is this a wearing company? Are you allowed to say who, or is it all
I'm not allowed to say who because since there's so few of us,
No,
I
got you.
have to be a
Just
pariah. But anybody who really knows this industry will know who it is. But that's a big aspect of made in America that I think is important. I want you to add to that, but I also want to get this bit out that something that Melissa was saying that I really enjoyed was that your position in this industry, I haven't really put it together until this conversation right now, which is that you're essentially an influencer, but not a, like I know all these influencers and all they do is just sit back and say, give me free shit
You
and
get
I'm
Yeah.
gonna collect on clout. And,
Yeah.
they don't add anything to the industry. You are actually adding to the industry. And yet, I think for all intents and purposes, somebody could call you an influencer. But I love that having known you for, I don't know, just shy of 2 years, that thought has never crossed my mind that you are an influencer. You're out here for personal gain. Like, I don't think many brands, I mean, maybe some brands probably send you stuff to get their name out there, but it's like you wear this because you want to wear this. When I see your Made in America outfits of the day, I don't ever think like, oh, these are these brands trying to get their names out. It's like,
Right. There's no seediness,
yeah, I'm
no
like, he
undertone.
believes in this brand. That's
Yeah.
why he's just like, look at this awesome shit I got. Like I love that aspect of your approach to it. And it's been so organic and it really speaks to the value driven proposition that you have led with.
I appreciate that. Yeah, because I would love to make money. I would love for that to be my full-time job. And yeah, I was thinking about telling you guys some personal things there, but ultimately, summing up, it's like on that note, it's like it's really important for me, and it's more important to me than ever to have like a job that is fulfilling and is stimulating and reciprocates the energy that I put into it. Um, it's it's such a it's such an emotional and mental toll and energy, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about that in this society. And if you don't have the support of family or someone just helping you get to school or something like that, if you don't do everything on your own and if you don't do things perfectly, you will become a part of the system. And I mean, there were so many, I could have not gone to high school. I did go to college, but that was like music classes and like if there was no one telling me what to do right from wrong, I could have been in jail like all my other friends, or doing a million terrible things. And it's so important to have a good job. I think the middle class, the working class, the trades, the craftsmen of America, it's more important than ever that these businesses, these industries are revitalized, that young men and women, young Americans, family, that want to start a family and, want to continue the fabric of America. You guys see what I did there?
Shout
Um,
out.
uh, you know, ultimately that is vital to our
Yeah.
sustainability. It's vital to our essence as a country. And, you know, it's more important to me than ever to provide. I've been with my girlfriend. You guys see me post our lane on here and on Instagram. We've been together for 13 years. We've been
Wow.
dating.
Measured you for that shirt.
She met me. Yeah, she is a rock in my life. Uh, she is, I mean, basically married, she is everything for me. She is my family. She's my support. She's incredible. And I forgot what I mentioned that for.
Because she's
Alright,
awesome.
we get
Duh.
it. You're in
Full
love. I
stop.
have a cat.
We can make
Alright.
it
Full
done at once
stop.
later for sure. No, but it's like it's important for me to provide for her. That's why I brought it up. It's improved, and it makes me feel like less of a man. I'll be honest. It makes me feel like a lesser human. It makes me feel like I'm not in a certain class, and um, there is an incredible amount of imposter syndrome that I get, wearing clothes that people perceive as expensive or as part of an upper class. I feel completely misunderstood there. I get perceived as like a fashion guy, and even like the fits you mentioned right now, it's like I think if anyone who truly knows me from like high school and stuff, I was Mr. Kooky Boy. Like I would wear pink and zebra stripes and leopard shoes and plaid with polka dot. Like I just didn't care. I don't care about fashion in those senses. I'm being extremely influenced now, and I'm being cute. I see things. I'm like, oh, I actually like that, and I try to I try to have an intentional fit sometimes, or try to style my things intentionally. And I think it's kind of slowly evolving. But ultimately, man, I'm just grabbing whatever. And I have so much to choose from now. And so I think that leans into my true style, my true, you know, image, if you will. That is like what style is. It's my personal choices. And so I don't really have like I'm not Mr. Fashion Boy like with the pleated pants and like the tucked in, like the I it feels out of so I just like I kind of do like a little streetwear like heritage clothing. It's that's kind of where I've classified mine as, and it's just very like you said, organic, natural. I just grab what I grab, and sometimes I'll like sometimes people send me things and I'll post them and they won't repost it. And I'm like,
Like, I'm here for you, dude.
look, you sent me this and now we're
Yeah.
here. And like, and honestly, it's not a malicious thing. It's just like they're busy. Like I attested to earlier, they're busy,
Yeah.
and
They're running their businesses.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
maybe don't have a media guy or
Yeah.
gal. And,
The story times out. That's happened to me before, even with Stitch Collective. Like, I'm like, oh my God, someone did a story. And I'm like, shit, like I missed the opportunity to repost it. So sometimes I'll ask people like, hey, what was that? I'm so sorry. 24 hours later, whatever. But it's a tough ride. I want to touch on something too that you said and just kind of hammer the point home that you're talking about fashion. Like, I think so many of us make this assumption about fashion being just aesthetic. And I think that's an easy, like low hanging fruit type of thing. Like, oh, you're fashion, you're fat. Like it's what you're wearing and how you're putting it together, right? Like what it looks like in totality at the end of the outfit. But I feel like from your perspective, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like for you, fashion or style is about the intention and the backstory, where it came from, who made it, what impact is this having on my greater community? Like that, it's not so much like am I putting the pleated pants with the tucked in shirt? It's where did these pants come from? Right? Like whose life did I impact by making this purchase when you talk about like voting with your dollar? It's it's so much deeper than
no compromises.
visible. Yeah. Yeah.
No compromises. That's the thing. It's like they say fashion over function, or whatever that
Yeah.
phrase is. And
Beauty is pain and all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, it's like ultimately I'm creating a phrase. I want to have a campaign. Someone probably will steal it now that I say it, but
Oh no, it's trademarked today. Like done.
convenience kills. That's my whole thing. I'm like, and that's my whole lifestyle now. It's like if anything is convenient, even at the grocery stores,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the ingredients. I'm looking at where it's from. I'm like, I'm suspicious of it now.
What's
If
the
it's
catch?
what's the catch? And so again, I can see this excellently styled person. They can be on the top of the magazine. They could get 1,000 likes. I don't know if that's a lot. 100,000 likes.
Say yes. Yeah.
Yes, they get so many likes. And I'm like, yeah, but where's it made? Like,
Yeah.
who did you,
Yeah.
who's
Who was
disenfranchised?
exploited? Yeah.
Who's disenfranchised, whether it be the environment. And I feel like the environment is this like sentient elephant in the
Yeah.
room that people are just like, oh no, I can pay $20 off of this. I'm like, bro, how can anything be shipped across the world twice and be cheaper? Like there is such a disconnect there. And like, I used to work in stone sales. I used to help import stone sales, and we used to deal with like Brazilian quartzite, Italian marble, stuff like that. And I mean, the shipping costs alone were insane.
Yeah.
And during that instance when the Panama Canal got backed up, and then 2020, et cetera, just kind of like overflowed into 2020 and all that stuff, it's the prices skyrocketed.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
fast fashion because of economy of scale or just because of what, like it was like hardly effective,
Yeah.
and it's just like people need to look at these indicators and, it's like it, uh, you know, and
I love it.
honestly, I wrote it in my article. This is not specific to America. I want that factory in Bangladesh to be just as popular and just as pumping out. Let's supply it for Bangladesh.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, that's going to be the most environmentally conscious thing. I think us as I don't know, citizens of the world, us as what does that mean? Humans,
Yeah.
like we should want to minimize our footprint environmentally as much as possible. And like, I don't go into that nearly enough. And I don't know, but I'm not an
Yeah.
environmental organization or community, but ultimately that is another, you'd asked me earlier, that's another huge aspect of why we do what we do is it's like, or I think it's more of like like I can throw it in your face kind of thing. Like also I'm hippy dippy, like I'm kind of
Yeah, yeah.
liberal, like I'm kind of like, like, hey, like we're focused on the environment and like
I'm the righteous one. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
not that I try to play that card, but a lot of people try to play that card with you. And it's like, well, look, like
Yeah.
I've covered my bases here,
Yeah.
like, and
Well,
so
it sounds like
ultimately,
you're living in reality, which is to the point you made before. And when we were talking about like what's the litmus for getting on the list, right? Being a part of the catalog there, is that there are limitations to what we can currently do here in the US. So I don't think, to your point that you said before, it's not fair for someone who is assembling and using skilled labor here in the US who is wanting to do the right thing as best they can, as best they're able to, why vilify them or not give them the notoriety for doing everything they possibly can, right? Like that's where the intentionality comes in, and that's where this idea of, like, we talk about the local dollar and stimulating your local economy, and I also think it's very very smart and should be echoed again, this idea that like all countries deserve that, right? Like, I'm not saying don't make anything in China and we're going to have this like xenophobic outlook. People who have those jobs there deserve to have good paying job, like, not to be exploited, not to, to have the ability to unionize if they need to, that sort of a thing. So it's not to take jobs away from another country, but it is to say like we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We should have a diversified portfolio. All countries
yes,
that we do a little bit of everything.
I've been saying that like the last 2 weeks. Diversified portfolio. It's the exact best metaphor in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's well said. Sorry to get super excited.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. No,
And aggress on, like keep aggressing.
yeah, exactly. Something that you said I thought really hit home, which is it's almost like you want to, rather than zooming out and seeing people as consumers and companies as producers, and it's like, let's just really think about every single person is a actual human with a life as complex and expansive as our own. It goes back to this word that we bring up all the time, sonder, realizing that every single human being has a life as complex, as emotional. They've got all the friends, the parents, the complications, the children that you have. Now, think about that person as the person sewing your clothing. Think about that person as a human being who has a life as important as yours. And something that hit me so hard, which is why I work with him, is our episode with Mitch from Gambert, when he said, when he owns this factory, and he's like, when I have to make the decision, there's not enough work, and we have to work a 4-day work week. That can be the difference between, does my kid get a pair of shoes or not? Do I get a half gallon of milk or a full gallon of milk? Like, those are the decisions that the factories need to make.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm choosing when I wear this clothing. And I love that, everything that you're saying about the clothing I wear isn't for fashion aesthetic purposes. It's what I say about it's the reason I named my company Bards. It's because you're telling the story about yourself, but you're also telling the story about the people who made it.
Right.
It's a two-way street. I care very little about fashion. I'm in the same boat as you. I would never consider myself a person of fashion, even though I have pleated pants and a hat and everything you described. Literally, I'm wearing that today. It's so funny.
He is.
I would never describe myself as a fashionable person. I don't care about that. I care that my clothing was made in a factory that I care about. I care about that I've shaken the hands of the people sewing the clothing. I care about the shirt that is on your back right now came from Mitch's factory. So making that order, make sure that that person gets to work a full work week and gets to afford the gallon of milk for their family. That is what I care about. I do not care about color and aesthetic and any of that. So Made in America is much more of this collective looking. And, you know, I've been listening to a lot of these. I'm one of those crazy anomaly people who can actually listen to both sides of the argument and not freak the fuck out. So and that's not a shot at you, Melissa, or anything.
No, no.
Okay, good.
It better not be, because I actually feel that I can do that as well. But
yes, exactly. Oh, yeah,
I just meant, what a novel idea. How
exactly.
crazy.
So like I'll post something that like Joe Rogan said, and all my lib friends are just like, blah, 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 Joe Rogan. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, please. Please. And I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal, but like I can listen to something somebody else said. And it's a wild conversation. So Andrew Schultz has that podcast Flagrant, and he had on Pete Buttigieg. And it was like a 2.5-hour conversation, and it was amazing because all the hosts basically all but said, everybody knows if you listen to them that they voted Republican, but they all come at it from basically the same way you started this, which is we voted Republican basically because we felt lost and we felt like the left wasn't getting it done. I don't think the right could get it done, but it was just enough to kind of tip the scales.
Right.
And it was like, if you listen to this diverse audience, you start to realize everybody on the political spectrum wants the same thing. Like, we all want jobs to get brought back. It's not a partisan thing. What you said on the outset of this conversation, I thought that was such a great way to start this conversation, which is like, it's not political. I don't get up here and tout Made in America for anything political. It is because I care about community. I care about human beings. And it is difficult for me to do that in a factory across the world. I don't know what's going on over there. I do know that I can drive to my shirt factory, to my garment factory, to American Woolen. I can sit down with Jacob. I can talk to them.
Right.
So if I can do that, and I can make a product that you can buy and it's something I can stand behind, that's all it is. It has nothing to do with politics or getting it done. So I think like the reason I'm saying all this is because I really like what you said about voting with your dollar. I get very upset when I hear all these people talk about the billionaires. And I'm like, you don't realize how much power you have as the individual, as the consumer. Like, it goes back to this very Gladwellian tipping point. Oh, all of a sudden everybody decides to buy iPhones. Like, it can be a zeitgeist shift. If everybody decided, oh wait, I don't need 50 dress options only to choose one, which means 50 dresses need to be packaged, sealed, plastic, boxed, shipped, sent, and then, okay, let me just try them on and then I'm going to send them all back. Maybe just make the right goddamn decision. Maybe just take your time. Maybe the fact that you had that save the date hanging on your fridge for 8 months and yet you didn't do anything about it, like, just be better, be different.
As a woman, that is so fucking relatable. I'm dying because I see the girls who were like, I'm so sorry I waited to get this hemmed or whatever, like, bridesmaids, whatever.
Exactly.
So that's right. I'm dying laughing at the the urgency
like,
situation.
The reason it's so upsetting is because I'm gonna have a hot take here. The internet didn't always exist. The ability to buy things last minute didn't always exist. We are capable of making decisions
Right.
ahead of time. It
Right.
is what we used to have to do. I think
Well, to Jake's exact point, now convenience is killing. Like that's what's happening. The internet made it
being up for
convenient.
that.
And now, right. Like, and now we're all suffering. The other thing too that you said, Matt, is that this thing about like the billionaire class, right? And millionaires and billionaires, and we talk about the 1%, whatever. I feel like it is such a pot kettle moment when you're like, Jeff Bezos, blah, 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 like these billionaires, and they're got their money in offshore banks and blah, 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 they don't pay their fair share of taxes. You can't say that and then go fucking shop on Amazon.
Oh my
You can't
God.
have it both ways.
Literally.
You can't have it both ways. So you have to make those more difficult decisions. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to learn patience. You have to learn to hunt and use your wonderful tool and do a little bit more to fucking
Yes.
work for it. Like,
Also, doing more can be doing less. Instead
yeah,
of buying shit all the time, just
buy less,
buy
buy
one thing.
smart.
I'm so excited to tell people that I just bought that Imogen and Willie 100% made in America cotton shirt.
Right.
$19 for 2 shirts. And I have not bought a t-shirt probably in 8 months. And I just bought 2. And that's it. But imagine how much money you're spending. $20 at Kohl's, $20 at Kohl's, $10 here. You probably spent 10 times more than me. You know,
Yep.
and like on these garbage
And it's going to fall apart twice as fast. Right.
exactly.
And
but
who made it?
But it's cheap, so who cares? I'll just
They'll
replace
throw
it.
it out.
Like,
Right.
no, just get the right thing and have it last. This is from Flint and Tinder. I got this for like 3 for $99 on Huckberry or something like that.
Yeah.
Before I knew about Southland Heritage. And
Well, I've no qualms with them. I actually had Flint and Tinder was one of the people that I should have mentioned earlier. I have many garments from them, and I no longer support them. So enough said.
That's actually a perfect segue too. What you were talking about in the beginning was these companies who made this shift, right? Who made a shift and will say, in our opinion, did the wrong thing, right? Went the wrong direction. How do you continue to update your list? Is there like, I'm going to check it every 2 months and just filter through? Are you getting like, do you have like whistleblowers who are contacting you saying, yeah, these guys fucked it up? Like, how are you editing along the way and adding and subtracting as needed?
So thank you. That's a good question. And the community, like I said, has been growing. I have people shouting out my website now on Reddit. They're like, "Hey, I'm looking for this. Go check out his site," it means the world to me. And that's like seeing the autonomous nature of it. I'm like, yes, let's go. And honestly, that's great. So sometimes I'll get those whistleblowers, pardon me, and it usually comes in the form of this one gal. I felt really bad, and she reached out to me. She's like, "Thank you for your site. Thank you for putting me onto this. I went and bought these coolers, and then I went to buy this is a hot topic, right? What am I about to talk about? Insulated vacuum, uh, a Yeti. There's
Yeah.
there's nothing with this insulated stainless steel vacuum
Yeah.
nonsense in that. And someone just put me onto, I think it's Bison Coolers, and I highly recommend everyone go to Bison Coolers website, and they do an excellent breakdown description of why there is no such thing as a tumbler made in USA right now, because China, excuse me, owns the stainless steel, supply or something about, which is frankly crazy to me, because how does US not have a steel supply? What is going on there? Any case, I'm showing my ignorance or something there, but I don't know. Uh, all that to say, this lady was like, I bought this tumbler and it was imported. And I was like, you know what? Shit. I don't want to have the option where someone goes onto a website and they're like, great, I trust Jake and I'm going to go through this company and click on this site. And then now they still have to keep vetting every little thing. Like, where's it? I'm like, no. I don't like, so sorry, that company is now moved to honorable mention, or, where honorable mention, I'm very clear about, hey, there might be some imported stuff. And, and adversely, we have some friends in Canada and in Mexico and, like still a part of the Americas that, is minimizing our environmental footprint. and they're still great craftsmen with an excellent legacy that it's going to be heirloom quality. But this is full disclosure. That's what that is, and I don't want anyone to get that mixed up in the normal list. So, but beyond that, I don't really go through the site often. I feel very confident in my initial listing and my initial like criteria, if you will. And another thing that I really, really advocate and I really recommend, if someone wants to get on the list, just like following me, or like sometimes folks will like follow me, and like if I wasn't the tenacious or like A type person that I was, I'm literally like screenshotting these people. And then at some point on my Friday or my Saturday when I have time, I go through all my screenshots. I have like hundreds. I make a list. I go through the list. I put that on my queue, and I put like, do I like question mark? Like, am I adding these people? Like, more research I need to do basically is needed. And then other times it'll put like asterisks, like they're very outspoken, they're very clear. I miss these guys. They need to be on ASAP, and the people on Instagram telling their story, or they're like, hey, we're American made, blah, blah, blah. Like they're telling us. If you can just tell me, that's like the first part. I'm like, dude, let's, that's great. I can trust you. Now I can look at it. Like, it's just like Caleb, the brand manager of Northwest Alpine. I know you guys just have talked with him. He's talking about this bill that's getting reintroduced. It's a 2022 bill, the country of origin bill. And, just that, I guess I was ignorant on the fact that companies are not obligated to put their country of origin, so I don't know. It's just, I don't really see the need to go through my site anymore. And honestly, I think there's going to be a day soon, maybe not in the next 2 years, but eventually there's going to be a day where I don't know that I'll want to continue updating my list. Like, I think ideally the list should kind of dissolve or become obsolete, because 2 to 3 should grow to 20% or 40%. And then there's 400 companies turns to 10,000 companies. Like, how are we
Right.
going to keep up with this? Like
Right.
ideally in the best timeline, I won't be able to keep up with it. I'll have to evolve, like, and there already are companies with thousands of companies listed. There's allamerican.org. Made Index is another company, a directory. And I'm telling everyone about these directories because it's about community over competition. And one of the things you guys have mentioned on talking points was competitors. Those two that I mentioned, they're for the community. So I have no problem being a part of their community and shouting them out. And Made Index has sent me a T-shirt, and once I have merch, I'm going to send them some stuff. And they've been really supportive. I see them on Reddit, and I see them as an ally, and they have a really great website with some great stuff, with great listings of companies. And allamerican.org, I mean, they have thousands of companies, but admittedly, it gets a little. I feel that my site is abbreviated, and I am proud about it being abbreviated because I feel you get a little bit more of a personal touch. You get a little bit more of the Jake filter, if you will. It's a little bit more streetwear, a little bit more like I'm trying to attack people that are a little bit more marketable and that are a little bit more like, like they're just a normal company, but they also have great intentions and great values.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily being like red, white, and blue in their logo. They're like, like I'm not wearing some crazy outfit right now. I just got my Stan Ray painted pants on, and some slides on from Island Slipper, and it's just like I don't need to be like their logos aren't like Mr. I'm America with American flag, and like it's just a normal logo, and
Yeah.
it's just clothes,
Yeah.
so I don't, it doesn't need to be so like,
It sounds like your angle is that much more approachable, right? Like we're not looking to rah-rah. We're just looking for intention, right? Like we're looking for intention. We're looking for, sounds like approachable, everyday wear, the regular person, I've gotten into conversation with some family members. I told Matt about this, and we talked about pricing. And it's that exact argument of like, well, I don't want to because of XYZ price. And I think we kind of covered that a little bit with the like, shop intentionally, buy one time, wear it forever type of situation. And I just feel like something you said before, there becomes almost like this like high horse snobbiness to it sometimes, or like Matt has talked about, like you have to do it perfectly or else you fuck the whole thing up. And it just exists on a spectrum, right? Like it just exists on like doing something, making small steps, small changes, living better, living with more intention. You talked about like those swaps that you had made in the beginning of like your journey with all of this. And I just feel like if the three of us, when someone listens to this, can take one step, just
Right.
one thing, get curious about one thing, go visit your site and click on one
Right.
company, right? Like that's a spark enough for people. That's a catalyst. Like you're doing the good work, sir.
That's awesome. And go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Yeah, it's snowballs. I mean, like that's a huge thing about these decisions. It's not like one day you're going to be like, I am going to shop all American made and this is how it is going to be.
Well, I
Just
mean, we hope that because
like we hope, but
Jake wants his list to be obsolete at some
it,
point. So we got to put him
that's
out of business.
that's just like one of those that's just like the whole, New Year's resolution. How many people stick with those? It's like just start little, and then it just snowballs from there. Like perfect example. This morning, I was just like, I want a bacon, egg, and cheese from Dunkin' Donuts. I just want it.
No guilt.
Hair.
No judgment.
I'm gonna do this. And then I'm sitting there and I'm getting dressed. I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I'm not going to. Like, and I went to a local shop, Neil's, and I got a coffee and a donut there. And it was like, I got dressed and I'm thinking like, I got my t-shirt made in America. I got my pants made in America. I got my jacket made. And it was just like, oh yeah, no, it's just like everything else. It's just like hitting the snooze button. I want to hit the snooze button because I deserve to, because I had a long, no, like get up and do it's they're all the same framework,
Right.
the same framework making those decisions. So, I know that, God, this topic literally could could go on forever, but I really like that you said, and you didn't exactly say this, but it was kind of the same thing as like your goal long term would be for your site to not exist, for it to just
Right.
I think that is
I didn't see that one coming, but it makes total sense.
I love it.
Oh shit.
Absolutely love it. Key and Peele talked about this a little bit with their comedy. They said that their hope is that with their show in 20 years, that the jokes that they're telling wouldn't be funny because they'd be like obsolete. It's
Right.
that same thing with there's that riddle about
I love comedians.
It was a riddle about a dad and a son get in a car accident and they get rushed to the hospital and the doctor walks in and the doctor says, I can't operate on this kid. He's my son. And it's like, how can that be?
Two dads.
Because the dad is the son of the doctor.
The doctor is a mom. Yeah.
Snap.
You know what I said? Isn't that what I said?
Yeah. So it's like, the point is to live in a world where the doctor's a mom, like doctors can be women,
Wow.
So it's like, it's that concept of the fact that riddle does exist. It blows our mind, but this is kind of going around on TikTok, asking Gen Z, and they're always like, yeah, the doctor's a mom, like, duh, or like the doctor, the two dads. But it's like,
yeah, I thought I was being super on top of it with the two dads answer, and then I kind of like ousted myself. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, I've seen a bunch of videos about this, but like, I love that exactly the conversation of like the goal is to get to a point where that joke, it's not
a thought.
riddle isn't even a riddle. It's just like,
duh.
Same thing. Yeah. Your mission is obsolete. Like you kind of accomplish, it shouldn't be difficult. You shouldn't have to search seek out, go on a quest for something made in America. Like
Right.
I even asked you, I was like, I need a trash can made in America. You know,
That's
like
right.
yeah, like something that simple. Like
Have you looked into Sterilite?
I actually I found a local hardware store and found a trash can that was
Nice.
yeah,
Love
um
it.
made in Coldwater, Ohio.
Excellent.
So yeah, I figured I was like, oh, like since I hit one bird
Birds
with
with
two
one.
stones, I was like, it's a local shop and it's made in America.
Two
So
birds with one stone, Matt. You're the worst.
what I say?
He's just throwing stones.
I just throw a
That's
bird
all
at a
Matt does is
stone.
fucking rage all
He's
day.
got a bird that collects stones. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So
That's
you see,
all.
there's the stone and his best friend's a
Matt doesn't know
Stones.
Matt doesn't know rob Peter to pay Paul. He doesn't know get blood from a stone. He doesn't know any of the like good little quippy
I don't.
sayings.
We love
He
you.
doesn't know
You
him
make
from
an excellent
Adam.
future. You don't need to know those.
Exactly. I'm the talent. I don't need to know.
Not your jurisdiction. Oh my god.
This, yeah, exactly. These hands don't need to know.
Hands, you need to know
Hilarious.
those things.
Well, Jake,
Hilarious.
that is a great way to end on-
Yeah, we're gonna end on a making fun of Matt note. So
yeah,
thank you for
exactly.
being a
As
comrade
most
in this.
times these conversations do end with me looking like an idiot.
No.
Where can the people find your site and
Okay.
you online?
Okay, find me at southland-heritage.com. That's my website. We have over 350 brands listed. We have like 14 categories. A site or a category that I'm personally really excited about right now is home goods. And it's something that I love, honestly. I don't know why. Just kind of curating my creative and space to harbor a really cool energy, all American made. So go check out the home goods. And then Instagram, we always got stuff going there at Southland Heritage, and it's no dashes, no spaces or anything there. So yeah. I feel like I was gonna say something else, but I
You
forget.
say anything you want, sir. This is your time.
No, I was gonna say, you know, I am thinking about doing some consultation here in the future, whether it's for businesses, getting them, connected to sew houses. One of the things that you mentioned, Matt, is, like a cotton supplier here in America and stuff like that. So one of my goals is to be a service to people like you in that regard and connecting those dots and strengthening the fabric of America. And
Let's go.
I think we found our third host.
Yeah, seriously.
No, and so and equally, like one thing Melissa mentioned was, and I think it was helpful for me to establish kind of who I am in a sense for this conversation, through this conversation rather. You were saying that I am really a champion for the little people, and so I again, going back to consultation, I want people to realize that I am available if they want to. I'm going to be dropping a wardrobe swap program, so I'm going to be getting people like companies to be like working with me to provide maybe a wholesale or discounted rates, so that way I can give people, maybe a break on, maybe they just want a Friday fit, or they want their work week fit, or they want their weekender, so we're going to get them like a duffel bag and, like two t-shirts and some jeans, from reputable companies that want to collaborate and are part of the community, really strong part of the community, and, get these people swapped into some clothing that they can feel excellent about, that makes them inspired, and kind of show the next generation and just this current generation of Americans that we can feel good about what we're wearing, and we can do it collaboratively. And yeah, it's probably going to cost a little bit, but you have help. I'm here to help you, and I'm here to help the business owners as well. And we're going to get these sew houses and fabric houses. We're going to get everyone connected as best we can here moving forward. So that's my goal.
I really hope that the listener takes away from this the positivity that you bring. I know that it's a tough conversation. I know that you're kind of coming from, this deep sense of an emotional place, but we all wouldn't be here if we didn't have like a hope for the future and watching, like being part of the movement, right? Being the change that we want to see. So thank you for doing everything that you do and just leading with heart.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you noticing that. And I appreciate your guys' support. And I really value being a part of you guys' community. So thank you.
We thank you, Jake. And it's been an honor to call you a friend. And I just look forward to the day that we finally get to actually meet and embrace. Thank you
I
so
agree.
well, thank you so much. And thank you to the listener for tuning in to another episode of The Fabric of America.